And welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. This is it, the final in the Star Wars Spaceship Fighter series that I've been doing. I've talked about each of the ships in reverse order, starting with the Return of the Jedi B-Wing, gone all the way back through the various ships, both for the Rebels and for the Imperials. And here we are, talking about the Rebel X-Wing. And yes, I'm wearing my X-Wing pilot outfit while I do this. Now, if you wanted to see this outfit or want to hear me talk more about it, I will do so. There's a little intro of me when I went to the Vancouver Fan Expo. I was wearing this outfit, so you can get a better shot of it there. And I guess while I'm at it, let's just set down my helmet here. There we go, just to show you I'm going legit with this one. Okay, so the X-Wing, what can I say? Really love this, both the vehicle and this toy as well. Now the toy, I actually have a little bit of criticism for it, but I'll get to that second. Yeah, what can you say about the X-Wing? I mean, it was the hero of the Rebel fleet. It was the ship that destroyed the Death Star. It's the one that we follow with Luke's exploits as he goes to Dagobah and back to Bespin. Wedge Antilles uses one of these to destroy the second Death Star at the end of the final film. It's synonymous with the heroics of the Empire, or sorry, of the Rebellion, Empire, and it's such an iconic ship. I mean, this thing, what a joy to behold, the X-Wing. I love it. Let's just get the helmet back a little bit because I'm gonna need the room. Now the toy. I gotta say, I do have. I mean, well, let's talk about the positives. Great styling, wonderful ship here. Mine's gotten a little faded on this side. You can see, especially there, the red's almost gone. And actually, let's talk about that red. That's kind of significant to the X-Wing story. In the novelization of Star Wars, the rebels that are attacking the Death Star in their X-Wings identify themselves as being a member of Blue Squadron, and apparently the original design for the ships, they're going to have blue markings on here. But with the old blue screen technology that was being used for special effects, that just wasn't working. So everything rapidly got changed in time for the film to change these to red markings, and in the ship they're Red 5, Red Leader, etc. The Y-Wings are under the gold banner, and I've already talked about that in the Y-Wing video that I did. This toy, though, what can I say about it? Now, I'm going to actually be a little bit critical of this toy. Compared to all the others, it almost has a Fisher-Price kind of an element to it, and I don't feel right saying that. I mean, there are some great details here along the engine struts, etc., and of course, you know, the wings open for attack mode and stuff. Unfortunately, I'll let you know right now, mine doesn't stay open anymore. The way this is designed, you push this R2 unit down, they lock into place by that little clasp there, and then to release it, you pull that clasp back and they close. But long ago, and I've actually taken this apart to try and fix it, it's beyond help. There's like a little platform that R2 sits on here, and that plastic bit, this plunger will hold on to it, and that'll keep the wings in attack formation, and then you can take on the Death Star's forces. But the little piece of plastic has long ago worn away, so mine doesn't actually hold its attack position anymore. But don't worry, solution coming up pretty soon. Now, yeah, I think my criticism of it is that it kind of looks a little, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what, it looks okay right now. Sure, the R2 unit is a little basic because that's more of a switch, like it's not trying to be R2-D2. But why are the guns like a black plastic, for example? Like, it just looks weird. I don't understand why they did that. It gives everything a very primary look, and I don't know, I'm not a fan. Also, an interesting point about the guns, these have always been a little bit of an annoyance for me. On this toy, you can see I don't even know what those are called, but the little protective shielding around the actual blaster point. On this toy, they're flat, like angled that way. But I'll cut to a photo here of the original X-Wing in the movie, and you'll see that they actually go the other way. They go up and down. And it's not the end of the world, I suppose, but that combined with why are they in black? I always thought that was a little bit of a strange design choice from Kenner. It does have some nice detail along the back and stuff. I don't know though. I find even the TIE Fighter that came out the same year, it looks a little bit nicer than this, a little more detailed. I guess my complaint is they just relied on these stickers to provide the modeling, the sort of bulkhead subsections of the hull more so. I mean, yes, you've got some nice designs along here, and you've got these little plastic pieces to and obviously the landing gear to set it down, and there you go. There's your X-Wing. But this is where, okay, I'm going to take the gloves off because this is going to require a little finesse. Here is the X-Wing pilot. And yes, he sits inside here. Shouldn't be any trouble at all. Let me just see if I can take this canopy and carefully slide him in. The canopy has a tendency to fall off, so pardon me for a second here. Yeah, there he goes. Close the canopy down. There you go. There he is flying his X-Wing. But he looks kind of big in there. I mean, the X-Wing was a huge ship, and I think this looks just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. It's a little Fisher-Price-ish kind of thing. And I mean, let me show you a picture of Luke getting into his X-Wing from the film, and it'll bring up another kind of point of contention. Okay, so yeah, he's climbing up a ladder there. Well, this Luke, beside this X-Wing, is going to have no problem at all. He doesn't need a ladder. He could just hop in like this thing is a Volkswagen. Again, I wasn't overly thrilled with that design choice, but I guess Kenner, they've only got so much size they can work with, and luckily, as I say, there was a solution years later, and I'll get to that one. But yeah, I'm not too happy, but I'm also for many years I was happy enough with this design. One other thing, just to get to the scale, there's also, and I apologize, the reference photo is going to be very, very grainy. It's the best I could find. But I remember in Empire Strikes Back, Luke is kind of standing here, Yoda's in the foreground, and he's about to, embark, get back on his X-Wing to fly to Bespin because he knows his friends are in trouble. And when I tried to do that in this scene, again, it looks like he's just hopping into a Volkswagen. Like this thing is tiny in comparison to the pilot. And again, here's that photograph. However, let's not dwell on the negatives. X-Wing toy is a heck of a lot of fun. And again, my love for the actual vehicle itself outweighs any complaints that I might have. I mean, I played almost all of the X-Wing games. I'm actually going to do a video about X-Wing Alliance, which was one of the later, I think it was one of the last ones in the whole series. I mean, I played X-Wing, I played TIE Fighter, mentioned in the TIE Fighter video. I played X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and then when X-Wing Alliance came out, I thought that was going to be the ultimate expression of everything to do with the X-Wing series, and it kind of was. But it has an interesting impact on my view of surprisingly, about modern games in general. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject here. Let's continue with the X-Wing. Now, another interesting thing about it, obviously the wings open up, and I remember the line in the movie is open S-foils into attack position. I always thought they said X-foils, like the letter X, because this is the only vehicle that actually had this kind of motion in it. Turns out, no, it's S-foils. I thought that was a kind of an odd choice. And then I saw this model, sort of one of the early prototypes, where the wings had always been open to begin with. I guess in order for them to make that work practically, they decided the wings should open and close. Here's a bit of artwork that shows the X-Wing as we understand it with a TIE fighter. Obviously, this is from the Death Star battle. And you can see there, they obviously made the wings not quite so wide open, more the standard configuration that we understand the X-Wing today. You know, this kind of a look. It's the opening and closing of these wings that I find kind of significant. If you look at one of the early production drawings that Joe Johnston did, the wings were actually one complete piece, and it flew more airplane style, kind of like this. There's, in fact, I'll cut to an image of an X-Wing flying toward you, like here, but it's clearly just a single engine and a single wing and a single gun. So what was that all about? Why was the vehicle originally just going to have two guns, or sorry, a single wing that didn't split open? I'm not entirely sure. That version of the craft eventually became given the designation of the Z-95 Headhunter, and there was a bit of a kick-up when J.J. Abrams showed the first bits of behind-the-scenes images of some of the models and some of the vehicles. For episode 7 being filmed, he stood beside a fighter, and everybody was saying, "Oh my God, it's the new X-Wing!" And I was sitting there shaking my head saying, "No, you guys, that's a Z-95. You can tell because it's only got a single engine." Here's that picture now. Apparently, J.J. Abrams said, "No, that is not a Z-95. That's definitely an X-Wing." I think in the new version of the X-Wing, I think there's like one big engine here, one big engine there, and then the wings split here somehow. Anyway, we're getting off the topic. So this toy, yes, really love it. This is my original. I've had it for many, many years, but wasn't overly thrilled with its kind of Fisher-Pricey kind of design, especially looking how big the pilot is in there. And as mentioned, my wings don't stay open anymore. This thing about the guns has always been a point of contention for me. And I just thought, yeah, it's nice to have the X-Wing, but I sure wish there was something that would solve all of those little complaints that I have. And lo and behold, a few years later, I actually went to the San Diego Comic-Con. Now, let me just move this over here for a very specific reason. At the convention, there were a whole bunch of toys for sale. Among those was the Dagobah version of the X-Wing fighter toy redone. In fact, it's so huge, I gotta move this guy way to the back. This really answers a lot of my criticisms. I love this thing. It's huge. And it's got, now you can tell it's the Dagobah one because it's got like the engine kind of burnt kind of color and stuff like that. I'll be bringing Luke out in a minute, but you can tell he's got his Empire Strikes Back version of the X-Wing gear because he's got the thick collar. I'll show that in a minute. Yeah, this thing is gorgeous. And I mean, it's got full landing gear in three positions. The wings work. Of course, it's more recent, but even so, for this one, you pull this little lever down, and then it locks into place like that. So now, let me get this round. So now you've got your X-Wing properly flying toward you, flying through space. Look at that. That is just fantastic. I am in love with this toy. When I saw this, I was like, yep, that's coming home. I'm sorry, old-fashioned 70s machine, but this one, this wins all the awards for me. Now let me pop the landing. First of all, let's put the wings back where they were, and pop out the landing gear because all of the gear folds up into the engines, much like in the actual movie, I believe. I think when when his X-Wing is flying over and Yoda's lifting it, I believe you can see from that shot the landing gear coming out of those areas right there. Yeah, this thing, let's just move the old one out of the way here, put that far in the distance. So this one houses a proper R2 unit. And again, we're clearly from Dagobah because R2 is all messy here. This was part of a set, like a boxed set. And I'll just bring out Luke. Even the cockpit has like way more details in it. Here is Luke. Now, if this is Luke, his helmet looks a little different. But yes, you can see there's that the thick collar that Mark Hamill wore for a lot of the Hoth scenes, and then he was just still wearing that that collared. I think it was like a winter coat over the standard X-wing outfit. Anyway, yes, here he is, and it's probably still not the proper scale. You know, he wouldn't really need a ladder. Well, I guess a little ladder to climb up in there. In that previous shot I showed you, the one that was grainy imagery, he was standing over here and was packing away his luggage into this area here, which was the storage container. So, you know, we're not quite to the proper scale. He should actually be down about this short. But even so, I'm not going to complain. I think this thing still looks close enough. And what's very interesting, I'm going to get the other pilot. Here's the other pilot. And if I hold these guys side by side, they're almost the same size. So how come he looks properly to scale, or almost properly to scale with his vehicle, and he's totally off scale? I always thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Like, if we wanted to get our X-Wings to the proper sort of size, this indicates to me just how badly out of scale the 70s toy was. Now, what's really nice as well, this thing comes with all kinds of little bells and whistles. Behind the chair here, there's actually some of Luke's luggage, the one that would have been, he would have been loading down there. You can actually retrieve out of the back of the seat. All right, that took a little bit of wrestling, but there you go. We've got this suitcase here. There's some other smaller items like the little box that he keeps his dinner in when he first meets Yoda. Yeah, there's all kinds of just great little accessories to this toy. See, there's this little toolbox thing here. Does it even open? Look at that. It even opens, and there's his dinner. Great! Yeah, this is such a fantastic little... not little, a fantastic huge X-Wing toy. So I absolutely had to have this. I think they actually made these not just Luke Dagobah style. They also did like a, I remember seeing it for all the, I think they made one that was like the Death Star battle version where you had like Red Leader and some of the other, I think Wedge as well had his ship. It had different, it didn't have this burn shape to it here. I believe it came with, it may have come with a pilot, I can't recall. And different numbers of stripes to indicate the different positions. And not quite as burned and wrecked looking as this one. But I just thought, well, I've got the perfect Luke in his X-Wing toy here. This is going to work for me. And just like I've done before, I'm sure everybody knows this, but just to keep it with tradition, why is it called an X-Wing? See? It's a letter X. And now we have come to the end of the Starfighter review toy thing that I've been running on my channel here. I've been getting quite a good feedback for all of these, so wanted to round it out here by ending with the X-Wing, since it's so iconic to the series and personally my favorite vehicle of all of them. I mean, anytime I hear that high-pitched whistly sound of the engines in either a video game or if I'm watching the classic trilogy, I love this vehicle. I love the original, don't get me wrong. I know I gave a few complaints there, but definitely have a great fondness of that particular toy. It's quite durable, I must say. When I was a kid, I would throw that thing around the living room because we had this green shag carpeting, and I would pretend that's Dagobah. And this thing would land multiple times into the swamp, and it took a beating, and it's still with us today. So it's a great, great toy. It's just unfortunate the scale is wrong. However, this toy completely undid all of those troubles, in my opinion, and This is a great, great X-Wing. I mean, it's huge, and it has a very cherished place in my collection on display. I have many other Star Wars things to talk about on my channel. And you've seen the helmet. There's a lot of other stuff coming. But I wanted to definitely just round out the Star Wars Starfighters by bringing us to the most iconic vehicle here, the X-Wing. Now, there is one vehicle that I've left out that honestly I think deserves an honorary mention. I'll possibly post that in the near future. It doesn't qualify like these, but it's not a Starfighter, but I'm going to throw it together as an honorable mention. Anyway, that's enough discussing what's coming in the future. I've always enjoyed the X-Wing, and I hope you do too. And until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.